So we've got Republicans who kind of don't know what to do with the fact that their voters are delusional, but yet they have to front as sane human beings. They think in order to get elected, but they're not even positive, right? So they're trying to find a way to walk this line. First up is Zeldin. He's a Republican of New York, and he's of course one of the folks who say, "Oh, I'm Trump. I mean, of course Trump won the election. Job questioning everything that ever happened. Voter fraud. I mean, there's no instances of it, but I'm deeply, deeply concerned about it." So the question is he going to continue to do that? Especially because apparently he's thinking of running for governor in New York. And if you want to win a general election in the state of New York rather than his conservative district, well, you're going to have to get crossed back over to being sane. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Can you unequivocally state that Joe Biden won the presidential election? And just to remind viewers, you voted against certifying the results in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Can you unequivocally state that?
Yeah, Joe Biden is the president of the United States, and that's how you become the president of the United States.
But one, I said, I asked it very intentionally that he won the presidential election.
Yes, and then I went on to continue an answer. If you'd like to give my answer for me, you could go ahead and do that. But I thought I was going to be here to answer my own questions.
No, I'm not giving your answer. I'm just saying you said he is the president, and I was asking, did he win?
Okay, you're asking me now for a third time, and I've said yes twice. So I don't know how many more times you want me to say yes and what your agenda is. But really, it's a bit ridiculous to be asking me a third time. But please go ahead and ask me again.
Just clarifying the answer to make sure that he has it right.
You have a fourth time. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't call that a question.
Go for a fifth time next too.
Is every time I speak a question? We could keep going.
Sure, let's do it a sixth time.
That was not 6 times, okay? But to be fair to the guy, it was 3 times. You saw it on the video, and there's a reason why they're asking. Well, what's your agenda, man? Well, their agenda is to see if you believe that Joe Biden actually won the presidency, or if you're one of the liars in the Republican Party who keeps claiming he didn't without any evidence at all to appeal to your base. That's a super fair question in a political context. But I think to be fair to Zeldin, he did say yes twice. So that's my take on it. Rashad, let me start with you. What do you make of Zeldin before we go on to McCarthy?
First of all, Zeldin is one of the guys who voted against certifying the election via the Electoral College. So that was the context of the question, and it was relevant, just as you said, because of his previous vote. And to me, he did try to skirt around the win word and say he is president, and that's what they caught. And then he did go on to say yes. But here's the thing, man. Who in the hell gets that offended by such a simple question? This guy was so offended by one of the simplest questions anybody on the planet Earth could be asked. Do you think Joe Biden won the presidency? You can ask a second grader that question and you get a simple response. But for him, he got really defensive. And let me say this also. This individual really is trying to figure out a way to hold on to the crazies because he wants the voting base associated with those who still proclaim that somehow there was massive voter fraud and Donald Trump should be the legitimate president today. So he's trying to hold on to these guys. And we're in an era right now where politicians are picking the voters and the voters are not picking the politician. And that's what you see happening in the legislation across this country.
Yeah, and so I want to be clear, by the way, that was Politico reporter Ryan Lizza who was pressing him, and then another Politico reporter, Tara Palmieri, who jumped in and just wanted to clarify, and then had Zeldin start randomly counting. But Woz, before I get to you, actually, let me go to the McCarthy clips and get your reaction to those. Because McCarthy, of course, the leader of the Republicans in the House, even more relevant than Zeldin. Zeldin's in the news because he's thinking of, like I said, crossing over and trying to win a general election in a state, in which case he has to completely change his MO because these are politicians, right? And go from, I don't know what reality is, to, oh yeah, I've always been in favor of reality. So let's go to Kevin McCarthy, and this is an interaction he's having with Manu Raju from CNN, and let's see if he's in the reality-based world.
the Iowa race. In your view, what is different between the efforts there to overturn the elections in the House versus Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the elections in Congress that you supported?
I disagree with the premise of your question. Okay. So if you challenged Arizona and Pennsylvania, would that have changed and lowered President Biden's numbers below 270?
You supported the Texas lawsuit that would have invalidated millions of votes.
You ask me questions every week. I just asked you a question. If you removed Arizona, but you weren't removing it, you were just asking the question about it. If Arizona and Pennsylvania were removed in the Electoral College, would President Biden's number lower below 270?
No, but Donald Trump said that
the
Congress could have overturned the election.
I'm not Donald Trump. So you're asking me the question. I'm answering your question. Let me answer your question since you asked me. Let me follow through. So you gave a premise that's not true.
Donald Trump tried to overturn the results in Congress, and you supported that effort.
Well, now you're saying something that's not true. So let me answer your question and show you how your premise is not true.
So let me get to the facts here real quick. So I got another video from McCarthy, but let me go to his quotes. 2 days after the election, Kevin McCarthy said, President Trump won this election. So everyone who's listening, do not be quiet. Okay, I'm not sure he pronounced it exactly that way. Now, granted, 2 days after the election, things were a little bit of a toss-up. But it looked like Biden was gonna win, but he had not been declared yet. And so, but what we didn't think happened 2 days after the election was that Trump definitely won. No one thought that. No one on planet Earth thought that. And so it's different than saying, hey, I'm not sure Biden's won yet. Then President Trump won. Everybody go make some noise at the Capitol on January 6th. Anyway, second graphic here is from the Hill. McCarthy endorsed a Texas lawsuit challenging the outcome in 4 states won by Biden: Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The case went as high as the Supreme Court, which dismissed it. So, and that's what Raju was alluding to there. McCarthy's weak sauce excuses. Yeah, we challenged it in Congress, but the 2 states we settled on after the rioters nearly killed us was Arizona and Pennsylvania. That alone wouldn't have done it. But as Raju points out, your lawsuit would have done it. So you challenged it in every way conceivable. So Woz, your thoughts on this?
He's deploying a very interesting political strategy, which is, if I would have gotten my way, say with the 2 states, you guys would still have your liberal Joe Biden presidency, and I would still have my street cred with the people who Dr. Rashad labeled so elegantly as crazy, right? Like, he's trying to basically do that delicate dance of what? I don't want to like overturn the election. I just want a certain element of the Republican base to find me to be a credible Republican. And to be credible these days as a Republican means that you don't believe in democracy. Any Democratic victory cannot be gained by legitimate means. And so therefore, President Obama was an illegitimate president for 2 terms. Joe Biden is now illegitimate. If Hillary Clinton would have won, she would have been illegitimate. And so, he wants to have it both ways. He wants to be able to go up in front of the corporate media and be seen as a respectable DC politician, but he also wants his street cred. And it's kind of hilarious to watch him try to walk that tightrope.
100%. In fact, let's go to more of the ensuing hilarity.
Do you want to talk to Trump, or you want to ask me the question? Because I'm here right now, and I'm showing where your question doesn't hold merit. Now let me show you another answer.
But you supported the Texas lawsuit too. Do you regret supporting that lawsuit that would have been validated?
No, I don't. You know why? Because it's going to the court.
Or did you not support Donald Trump's effort to overturn the election in Congress?
Didn't we just answer this the first time you asked it? You even answered. How many electoral votes does it take to get to 270?
About it. That's certain. You never raised any concerns about Donald Trump's efforts to organize the rally, to say that he could stop Congress.
Other people in the room? Anyone? Yes.
Oh, he does this every time.
Yeah. So look, let me clarify one thing too. McCarthy, to Woz's point, is trying to say, look, Republican voters, don't get me wrong. I challenged them the Biden victory rhetorically. I challenged it in court. I challenged it in Congress. I'm on your side. I think it was illegitimate. Now with Obama, it was obvious because he was black, right? Now, Biden,
Exactly.
he's not black, so I had to go through all this rigmarole to tell you that his win was illegitimate. Now he's turning around and saying to the reporters, "Me, well, golly gee, I mean, the courts, that's legitimate, and I can say anything I want. I back Trump. Trump's yelling from the rooftops. It's all a lie. There's millions of missing votes. Total insanity, insanity. McCarthy's 100% behind Trump. He went and kissed his ass, ring, at Mar-a-Lago recently. And then now he has the audacity, Rashad, to say, well, look, technically, when we challenged it in Congress after we were nearly murdered by Trump supporters, if we'd won on Arizona and Pennsylvania, it wouldn't have really overturned the election. Originally, we were planning to overturn the election because we were going to challenge 6 states. But after the mob came in and we were worried they were going to murder Mike Pence and he just narrowly escaped with his life, we then thought maybe not 6 states, 2 states. So I'm not guilty. What's your take on that?
So first of all, the parallel between the first and the second, both of them became significantly offended by a very simple question, right? And this back and forth continued. Now, here's the reality. He's trying to escape the penalty of principle. Here's the principle. If you could have gotten away with it, you would have stolen American presidency. That's the reality. That's what you filed in court. That's what you stood behind, and that's what you said. You said this was an illegitimate win by way of court filing. And if you could have gotten it done, you would have. And you would have disenfranchised millions and millions of American voters in the process. The reality is these individuals are defying medical science by standing up with no backbone. They absolutely cannot state a simple fact and stand on a simple truth. There's a significant difference between what the Republican Party used to be and what we see today. And that de-evolution did not start with Donald Trump. It definitely produced Donald Trump, but it did not start with Donald Trump. And now you have individuals trying to rewrite history during the context of present time. Just imagine that. They're trying to tell you something didn't happen when we clearly know it did. There's an old parable that talks about how every battle that's written about where a man went against a lion, the man won. Well, the reason is because the man got to tell the story, okay? And here's what's happening in front of us. You have men and women of a particular political ideology who are literally trying to tell a different story than the truth that happened.
Yeah,
Cenk, I want to hit on something that Rashad said because it's very poignant. The Zeldin guy is a guy from Suffolk County, Long Island, my neck of the woods. This is where the Hamptons are, Montauk, et cetera, et cetera. This is basically adjacent to New York City, where a lot of people, a lot of Yanks like myself back in the days, we would like to think of ourselves as, cosmopolitan, sophisticated, yada, yada, yada. And we would condescend to people like Rashad down in Georgia, like, oh, you guys are with the hayseeds, you guys are with the crazy people, you guys are with the hillbillies. And the bottom line is this Zeldin dude represents a district in Long Island, and he's participating in exactly the same crazy rhetoric that anybody, I'm talking about the most stereotypical base GOP voter, would be down with. And I find that to be just fascinating.
Yeah, my last thought on this is, look, Bernie Sanders in the 2016 primaries got robbed in 100 different ways, right? So they only did 6 debates. They funneled money from the state DNCs into Hillary Clinton's campaign. It was basically money laundering. The media was brutal to him. I can go on and on and on. But did he win the 2016 primaries? No, he did not win them. That's like 5 years ago. Hillary Clinton won the primaries. She went on to the general election and she lost to Donald Trump. At no point did progressives or Democrats ever deny reality. You could say, hey, look, here's the reasons why he lost. Here's why it was unfair. Here's why it was rigged against him. Here's X, Y, and Z. But never did we say that 2 + 2 = 5. And that Bernie Sanders has secretly been the president for the last 5 years. There is no like being on, going, no, I got a deep state. Bernie's been the president for 5 years. Plus, he's going to be president on April 4th. It's going to be amazing. Or you know what? Look, QAnon could say he's president. Trump's going to come back and be president on April 1st, and they'd all believe it. They're like, oh no. No, I'd say, of course, it's on April Fool's Day because they want you to think we're fools, but where that actually shows that we're geniuses. And not only will you get the most like far right radical lunatics to believe that, but now all the way up to their leadership, they all have to walk this line between sanity and insanity, and that's the current day Republican Party.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.